All right, everyone. Welcome to the June edition of the website Throwdown. Glad you could join us here. Super excited to be taking over from Bob and Tom. We know we've got some big shoes to fill. I actually just got back from Wistia Fest last night, so my head's filled with awesome video ideas. So be prepared for a few video-centric comments from my end today. My Throwdown partner in crime, Karina Duffy, is here as well.
Hey, everybody. Excited to be here. Excited to be taking things over from Bob and Tom with my buddy Vin here.
So I also want to welcome the absolutely awesome Michele Kiss from Analytics Demystified. Analytics Demystified is some of the top names in the digital analytics and optimization industry, and they're doing amazing things with data. I got the privilege of seeing Michele speak at Conversion XL Live a few months back and instantly knew that we needed to get her on the Throwdown. So Michele, thank you for joining us today. You want to just give a little bit of background about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. So I've been in the analytics industry for, now I need to A, think and count, and B, I'm going to date myself, a long time. And so I work with clients on more of the business side of analytics. So easy way is like not just how to implement it, but how to actually use the data that they have. So, I do a lot of work with, doing analysis for them, using that data to fuel, for example, maybe optimization projects, things like that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Michele. So before we start digging into our sites, I want to thank our behind the scenes crew, Christine and Ramona, for making all of this happen and keeping Ben and I in line.
Also, as always, be sure to follow along, participate in the Throwdown by liking, commenting in the live feed. You can also use the hashtag website Throwdown. So with that being said, we've got 6 sites to beat up today. Let's jump right in. Awesome. So I'm starting first. We've got One Digital here. They're a health and benefits company. And for me, the first thing that we're landing on this hero image, and the value prop isn't the strongest thing here. New generation of health and benefits is here. Great. Who is it for? Who are you targeting? What's the actual value that you're delivering? Are you actually providing these health and benefits packages, or is it some other type of service? And Experience Digital One, what exactly am I getting when I click on this button? Am I going to get a video? Am I going to get brought to a landing page to bring me to a demo, et cetera, so on. We got some beautiful imagery here. It just doesn't feel like it's all contextual, and it's really kind of pulling me in to want to scroll more. It's leaving me hanging a little bit up here. If we scroll down, we've got some additional sections down here. So we're highlighting the president CEO. He was named Entrepreneur of the Year. He's a finalist, which is great. But we're starting with the we. It's very us. What are you servicing? What kind of product do you have? I feel like I'm not getting the gist of what you guys actually do. And one thing that I noticed, which it's on mobile. So Christine, if you want to pull that up real quick for this section. It's a great picture, but I got the CEO's ear. It's a great ear, beautiful ear, but there's no value. And for me, if I went to this on a mobile browser, it's going to be a little bit of a weird experience. And I said it on the last Throwdown. That's one of those things where it's the small details. They all end up stacking up. And it's like, if they can't get this right, can I trust them with my health and benefits packages? So if we pop back to desktop, Christine, and keep scrolling down, for me, the real good stuff on this homepage is right here, this blue solution section. So it's solutions for employers of all sizes. New challenges and opportunities require fresh thinking and relentless commitment to results. We're starting to get more of that value prop. It's just so far down the page. One other big thing that I noted here, and then I want to pass it over to Karina and Michele to see if there's any comments. The text feels very like there's no hierarchy for me. So it's all kind of blocked together. We've got all caps for a header, but it's the same size as the paragraph font. And then it took me probably 5 to 10 minutes to figure out that these aren't actual solutions. They're just benefits of the solutions. So we're asking the user still to figure out what you're actually doing for them. And then they have to click through to see the solution that fits them, which it's an extra click for them. Let's get the solutions out front and actually speed up their journey a little bit. Guys, anything that I haven't touched so far?
Yeah, I totally agree, Vin. I think that is a theme that we've seen a lot on these throwdowns, and in a lot of websites we see is kind of the we focus that and it's tempting and it's easy to do that, is to sort of focus on this is what we do, this is who we are, rather than focusing on the user that's landing on the site and the them. And I think that's what, gets lost here a little bit until you get down to this section. But I think, design wise, I was pretty impressed by a lot of the site. I think that they've done a pretty nice job of laying different things out, and creating some really compelling stuff, that really made me kind of enjoy scanning through their website. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah, and one of the things that sometimes I think it's done really well, sometimes I think it's sort of weird, is when brands have a voice that's maybe not the traditional "we're so stuffy" type of thing. You see it in like the funny 404 pages, things like that. For some reason, in this case, it just was one where I was like, okay. If you look at their menu, the first thing under there is our vibe. It just sort of seemed odd, like maybe they're that cool, even though they're in healthcare. But it was, a little bit of a strange place for me anyway, to kind of start looking at, okay, this is what's in the menu. It just seems like there's a lot of kind of language that's trying to be cool, but then it's, to your points, Vin, like not telling me the information that I might need. So sometimes I worry that it's, at the risk of, missing out on passing on important info and telling people, what, who should be talking to them.
Right. It's all about weaving the story. And to Michele's point, if you're trying to get that vibe and show the culture, awesome. But it has to be in everything that you're doing. You've got beautiful, high quality pictures here that I can tell aren't stock photos. That's a huge win. And then the content, if we're going with that kind of our vibe culture and we want to show that, the content's not doing that for me. And that's a huge loss for you guys. So it's important to make sure that the story and the culture that you're trying to convey for your audience is in everything that you're doing. And that's huge. So Christine, if you scroll down to the blog section on the homepage, I really like what you guys are doing here. Keep going right here. So we've got a lot of good things happening. We've got beautiful featured images. We're showing the author's face, which is huge. That's human to human interaction. People do business with people, and showing that is great. We've got the excerpt. We've got the titles here. Christine, if you click into the 4 things new generation benefit, that one right there. So one thing that threw me here is how you're displaying your featured images. These poor girls are getting decapitated and all we've got is smiles. That's something huge to take into consideration, especially since you never want to block someone's face. Other than that, the layout as a whole, I actually enjoyed until I got all the way to the bottom of the blog. So Christina, if we scroll all the way down there, and we'll see some of the hierarchy, there's great block quotes being pulled out, headers are in here. All right, so this is the first thing that kind of threw up a red flag for me. The offer at the bottom of this, and I'm taking this at face value, is a very bottom of the funnel offer. Not a one digital client, talk to us, let's get you to be a client. Someone landing on this blog post for the first time, probably not at that level of your journey yet. And it's a huge form. Like, that is daunting to look at, and we're requiring 7 fields. Do you really need all that information right now? Or is there a better offer that you could put in for this that's going to get them into your funnel and start nurturing them so you're collecting this information along the way? And then one more thing, start scrolling down a little bit further, Christine. There's 3 forms at the bottom of this blog. There's the comments, which no one's going to get to because of the ginormous form that we've got there. And then we've got a contact us section, or find a location type thing. Like, what's the goal at the bottom of the blog? We want them to ultimately get so jazzed up about that content and the story you're weaving in your blog post that they want to fill out a contextual offer. And maybe that form for becoming a client converts very well. But my gut's telling me it's probably not the right offer to have in that post at that time.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, Vin, I think that especially with the blog, a lot of people are going to be coming in from organic. So a lot of people are going to be landing on pages like this from Google or other search engines, and they're going to have no experience with your company whatsoever. So if they're land on a really great blog, but they get to the bottom and you're already trying to get all of this information out of them, it's really kind of like kissing before the first date kind of thing. And definitely not great for building that trust. You really want to give them, like you were saying, a contextual offer that, is contextual to the blog post itself, and also to help them just move, at a reasonable pace, if you will, down the funnel.
Yeah, I think sometimes when there's so many different things that you're asking somebody to do, so for example, 3 different forms, there's a prioritization that has to happen so that people really think about like what's important and what does a successful engagement with this content look like? What would you want people to do at the end of reading this blog post? Now, yeah, sure, in a perfect world, call you and hand you over lots of money, but that's probably not so likely. So it's like, what's a logical next step that would make this a good exchange from the customer's point of view, as well as from your company's, and then really kind of focusing and not throwing everything at it in the hopes of like, well, maybe one of these will stick. Maybe they'll fill in this form or this form or this form or click to this other link, etc.
Exactly. Less is always more, usually. I think the only other comment I had on this is the inner solutions page. The homepage is so visual. It's setting me up so if you pop under employer solutions, and then I went into the first solution when you scroll down. Yep, so large employer solutions. I get a beautiful hero image, giving me a little bit of a feel-good feeling. The header, One Digital's large employer consulting and technology solutions. Womp, womp, womp. Not contextual. It doesn't get me excited. It doesn't tell me what you're actually going to solve my pain about. Like, it needs to be user-focused. If I'm landing here, I have a large employer. I know that I'm a large company. You don't need to reiterate that to me. Tell me what you're going to start solving with your health benefits packages. And then it's basically just a content dump. There's no additional imagery to really weave the story. And that's so much of what you're missing from me. You have great, beautiful imagery. I would take the jump and start focusing on some feel-good video. Get one of your employees talking about how these solutions are going to revolutionize this company's health and benefits packages and why they need to start talking with you. It's going to really, change that user journey for them and help get your users a little bit further down the funnel quicker. That's everything I had for One Digital. Guys, anything else before we pop over to the next site? Cool.
Cool. So I'm going to be taking a look at this one. So it's Runnymede. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Capital management. So a couple of things that stood out at first. And I'm actually kind of jumping a bit further. So I did kind of a quick scroll to get an overall glance. And I did like the fact that they had the information about like where they're seen. So you have, Forbes and all of that to kind of lend a bit of credibility, especially I feel like that's important when you're talking about anything that's financial. People are having to trust you potentially with a lot of their money. And so having names like that definitely adds that credibility. The other thing, as I was, engaging with it, is I did like how they had the step-by-step, like, okay, here's how this would work. You would schedule an introduction, we'd talk to you, we'd get information, then we'd create a plan, et cetera, so that somebody would know when they're reaching out, like what kind of process they're even being put into. And, the other thing that I liked is, and it's not what's up here right now, but if you go through and you send in one of their forms, you schedule a meeting, they do provide you some next steps on the confirmation page. So lots of times there's confirmation pages that are just like, oh yeah, thanks. Okay. We'll be in touch. Whereas they give you articles, things like that. So that was like the good when I was taking it first glance. Some of the things that stood out that I was, thought were some missed opportunities. The hero image at the top seemed like it was kind of a waste of space because there's no call to action, anything in there. There's a couple of words and then it's pretty much the entire screen, especially if you're on anything resembling a like regular size screen, like a laptop. And so I did kind of think that was, an opportunity to maybe run an A/B test, try like, what if we had the Talk to Advisor CTA and we put that in there? What if we said, maybe you want to get people to read some of your blog content first before you think they'll reach out to you, experimenting with some different options there.
And it feels really dark too. I don't know what type of overlay they're doing, but the text is hard to read. So it's that first impression for me is missing there, unfortunately.
I also find it weird when there's like beach scenes, but then it looks like the day is kind of like the ocean's really gray and like we're talking finances. You want everything to be sunny and bright, right. And there are no gray days because we're not going to lose your money. So then the other thing, I did like how at the top they did have the CTA to talk with an advisor. But one thing was that as soon as you scroll down, it keeps the top nav, but it loses the CTA. So if somebody wanted to get to that, they either have to go up or find one of the other ones. And then when I was just looking around at some of the other pages, I clicked our clients. And one of the things that was sort of strange to me is I expected that to be a list of clients, and rather it was telling me more about like what their services were. So it was just really not aligning with, what the menu said and what I was expecting to find there. I, was kind of expecting to find like more about, it may not be brands given it's individuals, but it just, maybe there's a better way that they could do some of the naming in the nav so that it's a little less of a surprise.
And we're greeted with great stock photo people too, which is awesome.
I don't know. She looks very comforting.
She's so happy about capital management.
Yeah, that's I think I understand the free stock photo usage because, a lot of companies aren't allocating a ton of budget to, these things specifically. But I think that, when you land on a page like this is a free stock photo that I've seen probably on 15 different websites and a bunch of free stock photography sites. And so to me, and probably to a lot of people, it just, again, looks really stocky and kind of just says, we weren't prioritizing this enough. This wasn't a high enough value to us to, get our own photography.
Yep. Definitely agree. And funnily enough, when you say that about like photos we've seen before, if you click on the client access, I have literally seen like the exact photo. And I think I've even possibly used it at some point. Like it's like, oh, I know that image. It's two people and they're on it. It's like just super, super familiar. So then the other thing, I tend to come at things from a perspective of analytics and how you're going to understand how different things are performing. So when I was looking at the different calls to action, one of the things that I noticed is if you go to the Talk to an Advisor CTA, then there's also the one, so that takes you to a form. There is also further down on the homepage, it has a different name. That's the schedule a meeting CTA, but it takes you to the same form. So it seems like they're using different names and ultimately they all drive you to the same place. It just is one of those things where, first of all, I didn't see anything that was suggesting they were tracking them. So when somebody does go to the forum, I don't know if they can even say like what was driving them there. What is their successful CTA? Is it the schedule a meeting? Is it what's in the global nav? Is it the contact us link? What's driving that? So right now, I feel like I couldn't see anything suggesting they were probably looking at that much. But then also potentially, experimenting and seeing, does it help to have a consistent one? If so, which one of them would be more appropriate?
Completely agree. The color differences are a little bit weird for me too. You've got that great green in the header section, and then we're going with almost a muted blue where the text is hard to read on the blue background. I would keep it consistent with your button hierarchy. This way, the users almost get used to, all right, this color is associated with more of a top of the funnel offer. And if I see anything that's that green button, I know I'm going to be trying to talk to someone very bottom of the funnel.
Yeah.
Christine, can you go over to the blog? I think it's under Education Center. This for me was a big area I saw. It looks like they're blogging super regularly, almost every day. And they're putting out, it looks like, some really great content. It's not centered around them and their services. It seems like it's really focused on their audience and their readers, which is really awesome. If you go into one of the blog posts, I think the listing page, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, with the sidebar layout and what we've seen in terms of conversions. Okay, I'm not actually seeing it on Christine's browser. I was having some browser issues with some of the layout in that subscribe bar that pops down. So that might just be a browser functioning issue. But I like that they, are using that hello bar CTA. But I think that the rest of the blog, the layout you kind of get lost in all of the different blog categories and recent posts. And there's so much going on there that it really takes away from the blog itself, which seems like it has some really good content in there.
Yeah, the one thing that I did like about the blog is that I liked that it kept all the same consistent nav from the main site, because I see lots of companies who, their website and their blog are so very clearly totally, they're hosted somewhere else, they're in different experiences, and it's like resetting the user experience every time you go back and forth between them. I did notice that when you signed up for blog updates from their main site, I did actually see that there were some things that were tracking for that, but I noticed that in the blog itself, if you sign up, it didn't look like they were actually tracking whether they got people to sign up. And also the blue bar at the top, wasn't being tracked and would trigger even if you had just signed up. So I actually signed up for the blog, and then the blue bar triggered saying, sign up for a blog. And I'm like, guys, I just did this. So, in a perfect world, it would be better if it was, understanding that, hey, we've already got them, and didn't necessarily kind of cover that nav there.
Love it. The only other comment that I had for Runnymede was, Christine, if you pop under our clients, which we know is actually the solution/services page, and go down to the 401k page. So keep going, that advisory and consulting link right there. So the header on this page feels really genuine. We're obsessed with taking your 401k plan from good to great. That's culture right there. That's getting it into the user's mind that no matter what happens, we are going to get your 401k plan where you want it to be. And I don't feel like that's anywhere else on the site. That tone and voice right there will resonate with the audience. And you're not telling, again, that story across the website. Get some video in here. I told you I'm going to harp on it. Not many financial organizations are using video to that level to connect with their users. And that's a way that you can differentiate yourself, show your team, build that trust, show the culture that you're trying to do on this page, and you're succeeding with it. And it doesn't have to be that huge production, Hollywood quality video. iPhones take phenomenal video. You get a quick lighting setup from Amazon, couple rigs to actually hold your iPhone, and you can get a really quality cut and dry production setup for about $300. And it's good enough. You don't need, multi-$1,000 projects to actually get the video that your users are going to resonate with.
And that trust is so important, especially, if you're talking about somebody's 401k, that's literally whether they can retire or not. And, if they're working at, age 75 because everything crashed down around them, like that trust is so important. So if there's anything you can do, whether it's conveying like, this is important to us too, we care about, where you stand for retirement, versus, whether it's, having real conversations and, and sharing video content, et cetera. Anything that can help to build that trust is going to be really critical for selling products like this.
Awesome. Let's pop over to our next one.
Quick boost. Here we go. So the first thought that I had when I landed on this, so I know Christine's using a big monitor here with large browser window. But on my kind of standard size MacBook, when I land on this page, it actually, the whole CTA at the bottom gets cut off. So I just land on a big blue box with the value prop, and the CTA is totally missing. And I think that is just something that I think people need to be more aware of. A lot of times when developing websites is really cross testing across browsers, across devices. There's obviously a big push for mobile functionality now, but even testing across browsers, a lot of people are going to be on my size MacBook landing on this page, and it kind of just looks like almost like a splash page without that CTA at the bottom. It doesn't even look like there's anything.
Remember when those are everywhere?
Yeah.
Bring them back. Just bring them back.
Yeah. Especially if you're thinking about something where you're literally talking about charging for mobile, it's even more imperative in that situation. It's so tied to the business.
Yeah. And I loved that they started out with charging stations for education, healthcare. I was like, yes, they're just telling me exactly what the thing is that they do and who they do it for. And then they said, and everywhere else. And that to me, I don't know if I could totally put my finger on it, but it just felt a little bit strange, because it felt like they were really specializing and saying, we do it for education, healthcare. Oh, but we also do it for everybody else. And I think that that's something that happens a lot, is people get afraid that they're going to exclude somebody potentially, and kind of sacrifice really focusing in on who it is that they're trying to reach. And I think that, with the rest of the homepage here, as you scroll down, I think my main issue is sort of with some of the choices for the layout. So again, so seeing this on Christine's screen, it's actually totally different on my screen. So this looks a lot better on a large browser window, but on my kind of standard size MacBook window, those get moved to 2x2 and are just huge images. And then that blue section below is the same thing. It gets moved. It's 2x2, and they're all kind of spaced out a little bit strange. And so I think that that's kind of a theme on this page. Looking at it like this, I'm like, oh, it looks way better. But I would have never seen it like this. I would have seen it, on my screen. And then as you get down to this Discover Quick Boost, I actually thought that this was the end of the homepage. I thought that this was the footer. You got kind of a couple quick links here on the left, and you've got a form on the right, but it's actually not the end. They have this whole logo section, if you keep scrolling, and it's amazing. The universities and the companies that they work with are fantastic. And I wish that they would kind of move some things around, bring those logos up all the way to the top, have them popping up, above the fold when you land on the homepage. Because once I saw like the AT&T logo, the Ole Miss, the Texas Tech logo, I was like, oh, they're legit. And it made me just trust them instantly, but I almost didn't even get that far down because I thought I was at the footer when I got to that form.
I completely agree with everything. That's literally word for word what I had in my notes. It's funny. But You've got a great design element here. I mean, the USB and all the charging cables popping up. This is a beautifully laid out section. And it like Karina said, it gives me all the trust in the world in you guys. What I was seeing on my MacBook, the site was a hot mess. And you really, I would put a lot of time and energy into going through on every device size at this point and making sure that it's the optimal user experience, because all it takes is one of those potentially big accounts to land on this from a MacBook, see it, and lose all trust in the brand that you're doing a lot of work trying to foster right now.
Yeah, and that's before you even factor in like a screen, like if somebody's on an iPad mini or something. I have a lot of clients these days where their executives are barely ever at a laptop. Like most of the time, if they're in a meeting or something, they have their iPad with them and that's the device they carry around. So, it could be that you have decision makers that are seeing a poor version.
I think one of the other things for me, in some of the inner page layouts, and this very well could be a very different experience on Christine's monitor. So Christine, if you scroll up and just go into one of the inner ones, and anything you want to click on under products, it feels very cluttered for me on when I'm on the MacBook Pro. So if we keep scrolling down, yeah, it's a very different layout. So keep going. Right here. So on smaller screens, this section gets extremely cluttered and messy. And as a user, I did not know where to put my attention. I sat here and tried to read the content line for line, and my eye kept shifting back and forth because it's two column. And once the screen gets a little bit smaller, it really starts getting disorganized. You need to look at the website through your user's eyes. And I think something as simple as dropping in a Hotjar heat map or a Lucky Orange heat map and seeing where the mouse is scrolling to and how far people are scrolling down on the website, you're going to be shocked at how confused people are probably getting on this website. Turn on the recordings, see how they're engaging with the content.
To piggyback off that too, Vin, I think they have this testimonial section on a lot of the inner pages. They have it on their customers page, but it's like at the bottom of the page. And like you were saying, it'd be interesting to see if people even get there because those testimonials are awesome. And, it made me wonder why they're not featuring some of those on the homepage. There's testimonials from like huge universities like Penn State, go Nittany Lions. And it seems like that could be just a huge, trust builder for them, but they're really not featured. It's sort of just like an afterthought at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, and I found, so I'm on the customers page right now, and even, when you have content that you're intending for people to read, like a testimonial, and then you keep rotating it like it's a content module on a homepage, which, it's just one of those things where it's like, I can't read it because you keep flipping to a different one. So, honestly, if there's something you want to rotate, logos is an easier thing because you're not expecting people to be reading them. And most, especially when they're big brands, you can glance quickly. And just kind of it's just distracting, especially, if you were reading the right-hand side, like you were saying, Vin, and then the left-hand side keeps changing. It's just going to kind of distract you from what you were looking at.
It's funny. I feel like they're using the slider in the exact wrong section. Like for this customer page, put those logos up top in a slider so I don't have to scroll for years to get down to the actual meat and potatoes of this page and highlight these testimonials. It's going to make a world of difference for the user.
Yeah, in general, the real estate used by the logo seems kind of excessive. Not like they should all be cramped on a tiny postage stamp, but there's probably a way to convey all of that. And sometimes it's actually really powerful when, instead of having to scroll through all the logos, when you can see a lot of them at a glance, it's like, wow, that's a lot of big brands at once. Whereas, so you can actually help to make your point more clearly that way too.
Love it. Anything else for Quick Boost? Any other noteworthy pages?
The only other thing that I noticed, and this is sort of just a quick thing on the blog, is that it seems like their content output is very sporadic. So there'd be like a couple articles posted within a week or two of each other, and then it'll be 3 months before they post, the next one. And so just sort of a, friendly tip is to get on a regular content schedule. That'll really help with bringing in organic traffic to the blog, and really kind of getting useful content out to your users, rather than, there's probably about 50-50, quick boost promo stuff versus actual kind of user content, if you will.
I'm also noticing, Christine, if you scroll down a little bit, there's two things that are popping out to me. You've got one featured image for all of these blog posts on your initial listing page. Where's the love to imagery here? And then the actual excerpts are so short and they don't seem to be contextual or well thought out. Is that really enough content to get the user to say, oh, I want to learn about phone charging lockers in your product spotlight, which for me, that's very wee. But is that one line, 2 lines of text really enough to entice me to click, keep reading and read more? I don't know the users, but I would probably wager a guess that it's not.
The one thing I did like, if you click their contact us form, like we were talking about, required form fields, the only one they even seem to require is email. So they give you an opportunity to just kind of say, rather than a checkbox of I'm interested in this or this or this, it's tell us what you're looking for, totally optional. If all you want to do is give us your email, that's cool too.
Low point of entry, or low impact to entry, excuse me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's pop to our next site, keep things moving. So industrial packaging. This site actually is a current Impact client. They won worst website at Inbound. We were doing some live throwdowns, and the worst website of the conference got a free redesign from our team. So they wanted us to throw it down, and it ended up getting selected from our list of submissions. So let's jump in here.
This is the redesigned website.
This is the redesign. So for me, obviously big screen here, we're getting a nice snapshot all in one screen. We've got some big ticket logos of companies who are trusting industrial packaging. Huge, getting that trust right away. For me, I think the H2 here, we might want to A/B test bumping that up a little bit. It feels a little bit small compared to customized flexible packaging solutions. I think for the value prop, it's leaving a little bit to be desired here. We're not saying exactly who you're targeting. We're not saying how you're going to, solve their problems. We're just saying that it's flexible packaging solutions. We're telling them what we do. We're just not telling them how we're solving their packaging problems there. So if we scroll down a little bit, we'll see we got the sticky header, CTA in the top right with Connect with Us. First thing that jumped out to me, I feel like Connect with Us is so overused for social media. Is the user going to know that that's not giving them a page of just social media accounts? Maybe it's talk with an expert. I know when you do click on Connect with Us, it brings you to almost a multi-use conversion page. So I would experiment and A/B test with some different text there. See what resonates with the users a little bit more, what's actually getting them to the next level of their journey without confusing them. For the side-by-side section, I'm glad you stopped here, Christine. The images feel a little bit overpowering to the content. I think if we cut them in half almost, you're going to let that content shine a little bit more and put the focus where it needs to be. The imagery is great. It doesn't feel stock photo. The one on the right does a little bit, but I know that's an actual image. But we're going to let the content sing. We're going to let that shine and make sure that we're getting the right information to the user for their step of the journey. And you'll see here, there's starting to be that story. This is what we do. If you want, this is how we can easily get you to where you want to be for us to help you. Here's awesome logos for people that trust us for our solutions. And now here's the solutions that we're actually offering you. So we're weaving that story. And that goes back to all the sites that we've already thrown down on. That's a little bit of that story element that we always talk about. Tell the story of your brand and your company and what you're going to do to solve the user's pain. So if we keep scrolling, let's see. Video. Awesome. Love it. But I'm going to tear into you and be uber critical. And David, I'm sure you're watching, so bear with me here. You've got a video. It's highlighting. It's one of those explainer videos on what you guys do. But this style of video is starting to get so overplayed for me. You know, you guys have such a good personality internally, and I can say this because we've worked together. You're not highlighting it right here. Get yourself on video. Like I said, even if it's one of those iPhone videos, it's going to be good enough quality that it gets the message across. It's that face value. Get some video here of people on the line putting the packages together, consulting with a client on, you know, what type of packaging they need to solve their real problems and their real pain. And for me, that would have so much more impact, no pun intended there, on the user's journey and experience. And it's going to get more trust built with them in a shorter amount of time. And then while I was sitting here watching the video, I noticed, and it actually went away, which is weird. Oh, there it is. My Zoom bar was covering it. You have live chat, which is great. It's not set for live right now, so I'm assuming someone might be on lunch or not at the desk monitoring live chat. But when I clicked in it last night, taking a look, or earlier today, there was actually a chat pane there. And it looks like it's powered by Snap Engage. So good stuff overall.
Yeah, I just saw the envelope, and so I just assumed it was a easy contact us. And I liked that it was there and always accessible, but I didn't see it as chat, so I wasn't aware that was there. But I actually really liked how it was there. It followed you down. I have plenty of times I feel like I have to scour websites to try and find out, how do I even talk to you guys? And there's nothing more frustrating than that.
I found myself recently, as putting myself in the user shoes, time and time again, I just want a quick live chat. And it really frustrates me to no end, especially in this day and age when you have a service that users are going to have questions. Like, especially if I'm an actual paying customer, I want to talk to someone on live chat. I don't always have time to wait on the phone or go through the automated voice recordings to choose where I need to go. Or the automated voice recordings are just so confusing, I get frustrated and hang up and forget about it. Live chat is absolutely a must in this day and age.
I think too, one thing that I've been kind of learning and noticing is that different people like to experience websites in different ways. And so I think it's funny for me, I hate using live chat. I don't know what it is. I want to find stuff on websites without having to talk to anybody. Maybe I'm a terrible person. I don't know. But I'm just seeing that, people like to interact with sites in different ways. And so I think giving people the opportunity to do that, and not being obnoxious about it. So if I don't want a live chat, I can just exit out of it. I don't need to do it. I can look at the site, but it's right there if that's something that I need or want. But I'm also able to find information, on the rest of the site, that I'm looking for. And I think that that's really important to kind of take that into account. Different people, kind of prefer different things. And so how do you get creative with, allowing people to experience your site in different ways?
Yeah, and funnily enough, I thought something sort of similar. If you click, Christine, the envelope icon, so it pops up so it's not chat right now, it's just submit, contact us. In the giving people lots of ways to choose how they interact with you. I will often look at forms like this and I actually get frustrated because I will often have times where I want to email. I don't want to fill in a form, and it may be because there's something I need to attach. For example, I had a product that broke yesterday and I needed to attach a copy of my receipt as well as a picture of what was broken. And obviously I can't do that through the form. So the contact page itself had lots of here's our phone number, here's this, here's that. You can reach us any way you want, whatever you want to do. But I actually think that would be a useful addition here, is just to say, or other ways to contact us, or email this, or call this, just a little, option to give your customers the choice about how they want to engage with you, because live chat's not for everybody. Email's not. Some people like to talk on the phone. Some people want to send you a message on Facebook, whatever it may be, but to give them the choice.
I think I had two more notes specifically for the homepage. So Christina, if we scroll down a little bit, right here to the testimonials. So testimonials, huge, doing a great job. 2 criticisms. That is a lot of text, and there is nothing highlighted. Everything is bold. So I would truncate this, and if possible, the gold standard is let's get this in video. Let's get Jeffrey from ACO Brands actually saying this, and it's more powerful when it's coming from him. It's going to make that lasting impression where this person cared enough about industrial packaging and saw enough value in what you delivered to him that they wanted to take time to get on film and say the awesome things that they said about you. Not realistic for everyone, but even if you have one testimonial video, it's, again, going to make a bigger impact for the user.
So I like the idea of having the text with the video potentially like as well. And the reason for this is, and you'll probably laugh coming from, much amounts of video land over the last few days. I hate video. I don't watch videos. I can't make it through more than like 30 seconds of a video because I'm a really fast reader. So something like this, I would probably be the person that would read the testimonials and skim them. But I do think there's a validation of having them there. And most people are not as weird as me. Most people do seem to like video. I feel like YouTube's done pretty well out of that. But, just kind of one alternate viewpoint to throw in that like there is a benefit of being able to scan quickly through text. And just get, a gist of, oh yeah, okay, well, yeah, that's something that, tells me this would be maybe a company I want to work with. I did like so we were talking in the previous one about how the testimonials kept scrolling. I like how obvious it is in this that you can scroll from one to the next. So I feel like it doesn't even need to change. It could just be as simple as show one and people will know that there's more and they can click through to it. I feel like it was better done than the kind of auto scrolling that we looked at before. And
obviously the whole moral of this conversation is test it. Maybe video for your audience isn't the answer. And to Michelle's point, maybe your users hate video. They don't want to watch it. But I think it's worth the A/B test just to see how the actual users are engaging with it. And I'll do a shameless plug for Wistia since I have Wistia Fest on the brain. That's an opportunity to use Wistia as a platform and you can actually see the engagement throughout the video. So if people are watching the first 20 seconds and then falling off, might not be the best route to take for the website because they're not really engaging with the video, or the video isn't as powerful as we had thought. Only other comment I had here was the Bofu section all the way at the bottom. Content felt a little light. It didn't really set me up to if we keep going all the way down. So package with us. Talk to a packaging professional today. It's meh. It's nothing exciting. It doesn't get me jazzed up to talk with a packaging professional. Solve all your packaging issues today with flexible packaging products. Like get the energy in there, and I'm sure more people will click on that CTA. And again, split test that CTA for just please split test that CTA with better text.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it's the bottom of the page. We should probably have another CTA there. Okay, done. So I think there's a ton of testing opportunities for this.
Mm-hmm. Overall, it's night and day from the original site that won worst website at Inbound. Obviously,
I kind of want to see that.
I was trying to dig up some Wayback Machine screens, but none of them had all the assets in it. So maybe I'll throw that out in the thread after we wrap up the Throwdown.
And maybe David can pull it out of the archives for us.
Awesome. I think we're ready to pop over to the next one.
Cool. So we are talking about Duotech. So this is another example of one. I first looked at the site. Right now I'm on a bigger monitor, but I first looked at it and I was on my 12-inch MacBook. The CTA I didn't even see, didn't realize that it was there. So I think that that's definitely something that, is really common for companies to maybe kind of look at it at whatever screen they're looking at or on a, desktop, and not necessarily look at it from a number of different devices, even just other computers, just with smaller screen sizes. I mean, there are so many tiny computers now, even just not factoring in iPads, et cetera, or phones. There's just so many, like, it's an 11-inch MacBook Air, whatever it may be. So I think that's really important. Maybe I'm the only person that notices this, but I found the disconnect between the page title and the logo and the URL. That keeps throwing me. I'm like, MRO Electronics, Duotech Services. And I'm like, wait, is that a description? That's something else. For some reason, that keeps throwing me off. Like when I go to click to the tab, I'm like, is that the page that I want? So, that was just something that kind of made me pause. In terms of, I tend to think about things from a KPI standpoint. So what are the things that you want people to do? Are you tracking them and optimizing towards them? And so it seems like, part number and request repair seemed the most important. And I liked that those were already present in the global nav so that they were being highlighted. But I felt like they were kind of present in this, like it's a tiny little font and it's not standing out terribly much. I think that there could be a lot done to optimize those. And then the interesting one to me was search. So it looks like, part number search is one of their, biggest KPIs. They want people to look and see if their part number is something that would allow them to work with Duotech. And they actually have two searches. They have the part number search, and then they have a site search. And if you type a part number into a site search, so if I type 123 into the part number, it finds results. If I type 123 into the site search, it finds nothing. And I don't know if they have search data, but I think that it would be really critical to look at that and to understand, are you seeing things that look like part numbers, and are those appearing in your search data for your site search? Because, in a perfect world, it would all be the same search experience. You could search for a part number or you could search for something that was on the site rather than having the two separated. I think you're probably having a user experience challenge there where people are, using the icon and they think they're doing the right thing, and but it's a totally separate experience. If you click on one of the menus, doesn't really matter which one, or just, so if you just kind of hover over that, I found the lack of separation between the higher level of the menu and the lower, like everything's the same font. I think technically there's a very light gray line, but I think the visual treatment of that in terms of it's super, super faint. The visual treatment seemed like it could be improved so that it was clear, like what's a header versus what the more individual links under there were. And then some of the other things regarding menus is just, there was really like a lot under all of the menus. And, this is probably with my clients where I would say, okay, let's make sure we're tracking each of these and see, do people even click them? Because like, especially what we do has a lot of stuff under it. And I don't know if an optimized menu might actually get more people to the right content, rather than just having, the menus can be pretty overwhelming here.
So one thing that I just noticed, and I don't know why it didn't change for me before, but the homepage hero is a slider.
Yes.
I don't know if it's set up so when your mouse is on it, it does not slide, which if it is, good. If it's not, pull it out. As we've said time and time again in previous episodes, if you're having things that important as your hero on a slider, you're running the risk of the user going to the website, going to get a drink, and coming back, and the most important message, which is usually your first slide, isn't there. They lose it. They don't care. They leave, and that's huge missed opportunities. I believe, based on what I'm seeing, it's either user controlled, which if it is, it's not prominent enough for me to actually know that it's a slider. And if
the carrots get lost.
The arrows are lost, and the buttons on the first one, because it's such a dark image, you can't see that the little circles at the bottom are actually there.
Yep, definitely agree. And, I would also just think about what out of that is the most important and just focus on that. Pick the one thing that matters the most rather than constantly changing it. There's one other thing that really seemed a little bit odd to me, and I'm trying to pick a page. It probably doesn't matter which one. So under our products, go to the second one down, ARTES, and then take a look once that loads at the left-hand side. That's a lot of social share. And like, there's stuff there that I don't think people even use anymore. And I don't really think people are probably pinning your stuff. Like, I feel like there's probably a focus that's needed here to say, like, we don't have to show every single icon because probably most of them are not being used. Any of these social share type of things, even if you don't implement analytics for them yourselves, they will normally tell you what people are clicking. You know, get rid of some of them. It just seemed like an awful lot to me, and I can't imagine that people are, you know, using Dig for this.
That's also a really bright and shocking yellow that does not seem to be in the color palette. I know there was also on the part search page a really weird and just didn't feel like it fit the brand light blue. That's all things that speak to your brand. If you're not getting the colors for your brand and representing yourself right, trust detractors, and the small things start adding up. I mean, watch a demo video and then watch demo videos. It's the same importance on this page, yet they're two totally different colors. And the eye immediately goes to software demonstration video, which might be, you know, the goal, because software might be more important than hardware. But if they're the same exact level for the user, make them the same button.
Just going back to KPIs for one more second, under the Who We Are menu, go to Commercial Customers. I feel like this was sort of a thread of the experience where it needs to be designed with the most important things in mind. So for example, like I mentioned, the call to action for the part number and the request a pair quote is really small up in the navigation. On pages like this, there are CTAs for part number search and request repair quote, and then a second one further down below. Even putting aside colors and stuff, the search our site shouldn't take, like, it shouldn't be above that. So I feel like these pages could be kind of looked at in sense of like, what's the most important thing that we want people to do, and focusing on that first. And then anything that's like additional functionality, especially something where you do have this part search and probably somebody's going to use the search box there, and then you're going to have a poor user experience, and you may lose them. They may abandon as a result.
Completely agree there. And again, button colors. Where are these colors coming from? Anything else for Duotech? I think, Christine, we're good to jump to Mobile Cause.
All right, this is our last one. So I will just say that I was super impressed with a lot of Mobile Cause. I am not crazy about this homepage hero. Just it feels very stocky. Just the girl with her iPad. You know, just feels very stocky. You know, similar things to what we've already talked about. And the first thing that I, you know, kind of was a little bit about was kind of the value prop. At Mobile Cause, your cause is our cause. It just felt very cause. And a little bit vague. So you have, our mission is to empower nonprofit organizations with innovative solutions that help you do more good. So I like the sound of that, but I still had no idea what they did. And if you actually scroll down to the bottom, Christine, of this page to the BOFU section, I thought that right here, we create the campaigns, you focus on running your organization. And some of the descriptor that they had here was actually really powerful. And I felt like if they could integrate that into the hero section a little bit more, I felt like it was a lot more powerful than sort of the your cause is our cause kind of ambiguous statement. I think it really speaks to kind of what they do and who they are really well.
It's funny. I had a very similar comment in my notes, except it was, Christine, if you scroll back up, The second section, accelerate your fundraising and donor engagement programs, that could also be swapped in or cannibalized to be reused up there. And it's within 3 seconds, users are going to know exactly what you're going to do for them.
Yep. And with this section too, I love the screenshots here. And they're kind of combining sort of their product or service sections with a lot of trust building and these logos. Like they have the YMCA here. And they have some bigger logos as you scroll through. And I felt like as I was looking through it, it really gave me a good idea of kind of what it would look like to actually work with them. In that next section, that slider testimonial section, I would have loved to actually see this higher up on the page because I think it's incredible. It's basically these mini case studies of these people who raised all kinds of money using mobile cause. And it's incredible. That was pretty much all I needed to be sold on whatever it is that they do. Was, this Christian Academy raised $156,000. I think that that's incredible. And so I think that could be highlighted a little bit more. And even just from kind of a simple design feedback, the white text on the photos is pretty difficult, at least for me to read. And it scrolls really fast. So it's hard for me to actually read it. I get to, about how much money they raised, and then it scrolls and I have to click and go back.
Yeah, you're running into the double slider issue here. You've got two stacked one on top of the other. There's way too much stuff moving for the user to actually be able to focus on your content. And you're not letting them actually digest. Christine, if we scroll up a little bit, I can't actually read anything on this slider. Crowdfunding, peer-to-peer fundraising, and then it was sliding for me. And if you're, trying to read that, trying to get the value, the user's not going to be able to read it that fast. I would lock it and even go as far as break it out of that slider and have the most important ones listed out so the user can actually get a feel for everything all at once.
Yep. And if we go to, I actually thought that their navigation was really interesting. It's something that I hadn't seen before. Some of them are almost like mini web pages, which I thought, especially for the resources section, I thought it was really good. It really highlighted kind of all of the different resources, and they have a ton of resources. And I was just kind of scanning through some of the different resources. They're all branded really nicely. They all look super professional. And it's all really looks like very specific and well tailored to their audience. And just I actually worked for a nonprofit before I was at Impact. And so having worked for a nonprofit, I was really eating a lot of this stuff up because I've done fundraising. I've had to be a part of that. And so, I say, big kudos to them for a lot of the content that they're putting out is really impressive. I think if you go to one of their, an issue that I found with their navigation was actually some of their, the links were broken. I'm not sure totally what was going on there, or if it was maybe a browser issue on my end. But that may be something to look into on there.
I'm going to throw one more thing in real quick, Karina.
Yep.
The navigation is so hard on mobile. All those images just stack up and you're swiping up forever.
Yep.
I think you really need a different mobile nav. So if you go down to customers, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Up. Come on, you want to. There it is.
Yep, I totally agree.
It's weird in the browser environment, but if you bring it up on your phone, it's really hard to use.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I will say too, it's a little slow. And it's just because, right now I have like Zoom running and a whole bunch of stuff. And in general, your computer starts to get really slow. So if you're thinking about it from a perspective of maybe there's nonprofits and they're running on limited budget, they probably don't have the greatest internet, that type of thing, it might be worth looking at how that's affecting the user experience, because I could see even just I'm experiencing a lot of slowness just because of everything that's going on my machine. So if I were on a poor internet connection, I'd probably be seeing similar things or worse.
Definitely. And Christine, if you go down to the bottom, I know we're a couple minutes over here, so we'll wrap up. But if you go down to the bottom, to that BOFU form, and if you go to at least all of the different landing pages that I landed on the site, all had the same form. And I don't know if it's the same exact form, but it's the same form fields. Any of the resources, things like infographics, all had the exact same form fields. And that was a real disconnect for me, because it seems like, I don't understand why you need the same amount of information for me if I want to request a consultation versus just view an infograph. And I think that, taking a look at those forms, again, looking at the data in terms of, the submission rate on those, and maybe testing, paring down those form fields. So if somebody's, looking at a more top of the funnel piece of content like an infographic, maybe just asking for their first name and their email and see how that affects that submission rate. I think that could be a big area of improvement for this site. Michele, do you have any other feedback before we wrap up here on this site?
No, I think probably the only one I wanted to mention, I couldn't see if it was the case on this one, but it was on one of the other sites that I looked at, to do with the form submission and things like, whether it's white papers, any of those kinds of assets, is also making sure that you're not requiring it over and over again. Because I did find a few examples where it's like, to download everything, I had to refill in the form. And I think it's a poor experience, and you're probably going to get, not nearly as good engagement if they have to keep giving you their info over and over again.
That's a really good point. And I think us being HubSpot partners and using so much of the HubSpot smart forms, we take that for granted. Making sure that as soon as you get the user information in a given form, that you're not asking them for that information again, it's key to that user experience.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today. We had a lot of great sites and tons of potential. Remember, keep testing, improving, and driving the value your users want and deserve. Don't forget, get your tickets for Impact Live. That's going to be August 1st and 2nd here in Hartford, Connecticut. It's an event that we created specifically for marketing sales leaders that are looking to grow, take their self, their team, their organization to the next level. It's going to be an awesome time. Got some great speakers lined up. Last but not least, don't forget to tune into the Impact Show tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, not the usual 1 p.m. Bob, our CEO, is over across seas in Dublin right now, so he'll be doing a little international Impact Show. And they're going to have some awesome tips on building a successful marketing team, which is absolutely important to anyone's success. So thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to throwing down with you folks next month. Have a great rest of your day.